From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Jade Nicole Yuban. Cronkite News is dedicated to covering issues to protect your health, your money, and your way of life. Tonight, some of our top coverage from our consumer reporting team.
When President Trump announced a new trade deal between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, Arizona dairy farmers were optimistic. But now, 3 days later, reporter Jimmy Jackson explains why some are saying, not so fast.
Everybody was just amazed that the administration was actively talking about dairy trade. No administration for decades had ever really talked about dairy trade as a major component of any deal.
Jim Boyle is the owner of Jim Boyle Dairy, and while he thinks this trade deal was a step in the right direction for dairy farmers, he is still skeptical of the short-term effects that it will have on the dairy industry.
It is nice to have the trade deal done, at least the language completed, and there's a little bit more access to the Canadian market than we had before. The new USMCA essentially just retains all of the old NAFTA deals with Mexico.
One of the key details ends Canada's Class 7 dairy products that price other countries out of its market and dump what they call cheap dairy products in the U.S.
Canada may be opening up its dairy markets to the U.S., but the focus in Arizona is on Mexico's tariffs on U.S. dairy exports that are not addressed in the trade deal.
The issue that happened was that during the new NAFTA negotiations, we placed tariffs on imported steel and aluminum and other products from Mexico and Canada, which then forced Mexico to place a number of tariffs on American agricultural products going south. That was a big hit to us.
Arizona exports more dairy to Mexico than any other country, and Arizona dairy farmers say recent tariffs are hurting their profits. Still, Keith Murfield of United Dairymen of Arizona says, don't expect this to change the price of dairy products in stores.
I don't think what you saw here, you'll see really any difference in what the prices you pay, but it will at least give the producers a chance that maybe in the future the milk prices will go up.
Boyle says the impact in the new trade deal will be small and isn't going to significantly help the struggling dairy industry. In Mesa, Jimmy Jackson, Cronkite News.
The new trade deal is expected to be signed in late November, but Boyle believes it could take much longer if the Democrats win control in the House of Representatives in the midterm elections.
After seeing a lack of resources for urban Native business owners, one woman from ASU's American Policy Institute wanted to make a difference. Sammy Jeebers reports on how Indigenous entrepreneurs were able to add more tools to their belt.
It's music to the ears. Well, maybe not our ears.
Pour it in there and it creates a casting.
For Raquel Kemp, craftsmanship is just as important as blending in her culture.
It's all in my jewelry. Every single piece, it's, my heritage.
She runs an online business where she makes Indigenous woman-made jewelry and prints.
Everything that I would need to create is in this room.
She felt like something was missing for Natives and their small businesses.
Something to help us along the way, just to start us off. Really wasn't anything that I had found except for, the Inno Nations.
I realized that there's nothing out there for tribal businesses.
Moore saw a lack of resources specifically for urban Native entrepreneurs. She started an initiative dedicated to supporting business owners.
We just wanted to serve the urban Native community and give them a place to call home.
8 businesses from surrounding states and multiple tribes came to ASU for intensive training in finance, marketing, and other areas.
Thank God I'm not the only person that feels this way. And that just made me more confident as a business owner because I was like, okay, this is perfectly normal to feel like you have zero confidence and you're not doing a good job.
Mendez runs an event management company in Indian country, and just being able to relate to other tribal business owners just made all the difference.
That was probably another big thing that came out of Inno Nations with a network and just being able to talk to people.
They allow different resources available to all Natives.
Let's see what we can do with them today.
I mean, that's what I have is my culture, and I've kind of built my career, my business kind of around that, just because it means so much to me. And I wanted to kind of convey that through my jewelry.
And Kemp will be doing just that, with now even more tools on her work table. In Phoenix, Sammy Giebers, Cronkite News.
Right now, Morris is looking to start the next stage of the initiative with possibly more business owners in another round of entrepreneurs.
Maryvale Baseball Park, spring training home of the Milwaukee Brewers, is undergoing an extreme makeover. After over 20,000 hours of construction since the last spring training game, the final beam in the Brewers clubhouse has been set. Here's Taylor Rocha with why this baseball park has bigger plans than baseball.
Maryvale Baseball Park is finally catching up to its Cactus League competition. After 20 years in a facility that's remained virtually unchanged since it opened, more than $50 million in renovations will keep the Milwaukee Brewers in Maryvale for the next 25 years.
We're very excited on behalf of the Brewers to be at this stage. We are really excited to be here in January for the opening and to be part of this community for years to come.
The Brewers are not the only ones benefiting from the investment. As part of a partnership with the City of Phoenix and the Arizona Sports and Tourism Authority, a key focus of the project is giving back to the Maryvale community. Councilwoman Vania Guevara recalled seeing children's eyes light up at a backpack drive at the complex when they heard some Brewers players speaking Spanish.
I didn't have anyone who looked like me in a position of in a uniform or in a position of power until I was no longer a kid.
It was a powerful moment for Guevara, seeing the strong connection between her Maryvale community that is nearly 80% Hispanic, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, with a sport that the latest study from the Institute for Diversity and Ethics in Sports says is nearly 1/3 Latino. In Maryvale, Taylor Rocha, Cronkite News.
The ribbon-cutting ceremony for Maryvale Baseball Park is projected for January, right at time for pitchers and catchers to report to spring training.
Every day, the LGBTQ community faces discrimination in the workplace. As Sammy Giebers reports, one nonprofit group called 1 in 10 is hoping to bolster support and opportunities for the youth in the Valley.
Are you looking for like a second job?
Okay. Employers in the Valley
Nice to meet you.
are meeting LGBT youth.
Try to make it as readable as possible. Got dressed, looked nice, put on our good clean clothes, and went out here to fill out applications.
We're hoping to create a safe space where youth can come in and meet with employers.
Do you have a resume with you?
We are helping to reduce those hurdles and connect to jobs here in the Phoenix area.
There we go.
Another hurdle that faces the LGBTQ community includes homelessness.
In the general population, about 8% of youth are in the LGBT community. But in the youth homeless population, that number is at about 40%.
I was just homeless at like, what, two weeks ago, not even.
For Richard Wallerman and his partner William Diaz, that statistic hits close to home. They spent more than 2 years on the streets.
Well, the main reason we were on the street is because my family didn't really support the relationship I was in.
They also face discrimination in the workplace, and Arizona is in the top 10 states with the most LGBTQ discrimination charges, according to insurance quotes.
That's going to change as time goes on.
An event like this is really important because it allows organizations to understand that there are a lot of LGBTQ youth who are super hard workers.
Richard and William managed to get on their feet through the help of counselors like Sarah and organizations like 1 in 10 who hosted the fair.
Worst thing you could do is give up. Stop trying to find a better place, because there are better places.
But their next step is finding that job. In Phoenix, Sammy Giebers, Cronkite News.
Now is the best time in 50 years to look for a job, economic experts say. Reporter Charisma Sandoval talks to them about the future of Arizona's economy and housing market.
Economic experts in Phoenix today assured Arizona companies that the economy is booming. They say Arizona is following a national trend of record low unemployment rates and a housing market driven by millennials.
The economy's good, your wages are going to be going up, and it's simply about as good as the economy can get right now in terms of the availability of jobs, and there'll be upward pressure on labor prices because of that.
Elliot Polick, a veteran Arizona economist, said education, health services, construction, and manufacturing are among the jobs prospering in Arizona's economy.
We're going to be creating 60,000 jobs this year, close to 60,000 jobs next year. That's a lot of jobs.
Jim Hunsinger, Chief Investment Officer at a financial services firm, gave a national perspective on the economy, saying low unemployment rates like the ones we're seeing in Arizona are a national trend.
The employment situation in this economy is really good, and if I'm going to have one thing that's working real well, it would be that we're putting more and more Americans back to work.
Pollock said he's also optimistic about the housing market in Arizona, as about 61% of people in Phoenix can afford the median-priced home.
What is selling is affordable housing. And again, small lot, lower-priced homes, that's where the market is.
Pollock says millennials are driving the housing demand, and their habits are changing as they're paying off student debts and benefiting from the stronger economy.
Essentially, 30% of millennials are out of the housing market at the moment. Over time, they will come back, adding even more demand.
This is a demand that experts say will continue to rise, with 95% of that younger demographic planning to own a home someday. In Phoenix, Charisma Sandoval, Cronkite News.
Pollock says this booming economy cannot last forever and a recession is inevitable, but it's not likely to occur in 2019.
Welding is the binding of metal with the use of a hot flame. It is also a career field usually geared towards men. Reporter Tanaya Williamson met with a few women who are heating up the industry, thanks to classes offered at the Refrigeration School Incorporated in Phoenix.
I don't know what it is, but something about the noises, the smells, getting dirty and gritty, and just making fires and grinding stuff. It's just, I love it.
Emily Donahue took on welding classes to improve her skills as an artist.
I felt more intimidated about my personal standpoint of learning it rather than being outnumbered gender-wise. So I've always been able to scrap it with the boys pretty well.
Schools like RSI have females in their programs who are taking part in HVAC and welding.
Melissa Hayes worked in the health field before making a career change.
It just wasn't for me. So with welding, I mean, you still interact with people, but I just like to disappear underneath the hood and just, you know, put my work in that way.
Hayes says welding isn't just about the personal freedom, it offers her a better income.
I have a son that I want to provide for, and this is very good earning potential.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average annual income of a welder is just more than $40,000. For some of the men at RSI, having women part of the team is an added bonus.
The women are really big on safety, and they'll take that extra step to do a job done right the first time, as opposed to taking a shortcut and trying to minimize the time it takes to do a job.
For Emily Donahue, being a woman is only one factor. She just wants to weld.
I'm kind of excited, more of a challenge than anything, to get out there and to be the minority in this field.
In Phoenix, Tanaya Williamson, Cronkite News.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, women currently make up just 9% of the construction field, which includes welding, cutting, and building.
Want to work in the technology sector? You may just live in the right state for that. Cronkite News reporter Jimmy Jackson looks at how Arizona is starting to compare to other major tech areas in the country.
Arizona is becoming a force to be reckoned with within the tech industry. Elliot Polak, CEO of a real estate consulting firm, told business leaders recently that Arizona has a cost of living advantage for tech owners and its employees.
It's got a great locational advantage compared to places in the middle of the country because it's close to California. And I think a lot of companies that will be moving here will be California-based now, and that California will simply price them out of the market tax-wise and regulatory-wise.
Real estate company CBRE's report, which measures high-tech job growth across the country, has Phoenix as number 5 on its list for growth in 2015 and 2016, with 25% job growth, which translates to more than 10,000 jobs. Ravi Kumar, the president of consulting and IT services firm Infosys, recently announced the company's expansion in Arizona and cited the reasons why Arizona was at the top of its list of places to set up its innovation hub.
It was very clear that the government was very proactive, but there was a huge talent pool which we can tap into in the state of Arizona.
Phoenix is now ranked 15th in tech talent markets according to the CBRE's 2018 research on tech talent. Polak says tech is still a small portion of the Arizona job market, but there is potential.
Millennials like it here. There's a lot going on here in terms of fun stuff, interesting stuff. And so, yes, I think that Phoenix has a distinct possibility of becoming a major tech hub.
Kumar says Infosys has found that Arizona is a place where there is sufficient talent at universities to train and fill tech jobs. In Phoenix, Jimmy Jackson, Cronkite News.
The annual report by CBRE shows that the tech employment sector grew 4 times more than the national jobs average.
Businesses on the Lake Pleasant Marina are finding ways to push on after a rough monsoon season. Sammy Giebers found out how they're coping after the storm damaged docks, walkways, and brought down visitor numbers.
When your business is on the water, you worry about the weather. So when monsoon season hits, it can also hit your bottom line.
That has done majority of this damage, which has eliminated one whole dock.
Heavy winds, a lot of rain, a lot of heavy rain mostly. But we get a lot of heavy rains that come across the lake, and that's what causes a lot of damage as well.
So the drills are out to repair the dock after the harsh summer. But marina manager Chad Case says they've seen less people coming out to Lake Pleasant.
I'm going to say 10 to 15%. That's lost revenue for us. I mean, this dock in particular houses 100 boats.
There's been a lot of news stories out about the monsoons this season, and I think that's discouraged people from coming out a little bit.
But businesses are not letting a broken dock get in their way of a day on the lake. Normally, you would be able to walk or drive up to the marina. But now, you're shuttled over to avoid the damaged walkway.
There are unique challenges sometimes just to keep this running in a 7-day operation.
Found ways to work around anything that we've encountered because of the monsoons. We want people to know that we're still cruising and paddleboarding and renting boats.
A business on the water has its unique set of challenges. But whether it's by boat, kayak, or board, this marina is determined to keep afloat. At Lake Pleasant, Sammy Giebers, Cronkite News.
During the summer storms, some businesses had to close or take boats out of the water, but all of them say they're now operating business as usual.
The Biodesign Institute expanded its research into brain diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's at a new facility at Arizona State University. Cronkite News reporter Jimmy Jackson explains its goal to bring together thousands of researchers around the world to explore treatment and detection.
Arizona State University unveiled a new facility in its Biodesign Institute that leaders say will help maximize research into Alzheimer's and other diseases that attack the brain. Joshua LeBayer, the executive director of the Biodesign Institute, says researchers from around the world are working to find treatments and detect the disease in its early stages.
We have scientists here who are brilliant at doing animal models to study the disease, and we have scientists here who are doing what's called data science. Looks at large batches of data, if you will, on individuals with this disease to see if we can discern from that patterns that are important for understanding the disease.
With Arizona having the second fastest growth rate for Alzheimer's, according to the Arizona Alzheimer's Association. Ramon Velasquez, a postdoctoral student, says the facility offers the strength of teamwork.
I think that this institute will definitely allow for even more collaborations and also deciphering more about the actual disease process and hopefully finding treatments for the disease.
Eric Ryman, the director of the Banner Alzheimer's Institute, says the ASU Center will be one of the largest devoted to understanding a disease that is expected to increase 43% over the next 7 years.
We would like to create a destination center for the discovery of a broader portfolio of promising ways to treat and indeed prevent Alzheimer's disease.
The goal is to expand the institute to include another building.
We've got a very successful institute. We've got outstanding scientists who are doing very creative and important science, and we want to continue to grow. And if we're going to grow, we need to have a place to put them.
The new building has about 1,300 people and can handle several thousand more. In Tempe, Jimmy Jackson, Cronkite News.
The center will house cutting-edge technology like the compact-free electron laser, which will allow researchers to record images of molecules changing shape.
Culture, not costumes. Protesters walked onto the property of an online retailer selling Halloween outfits that resemble Native American dress. Sammy Giebers spoke to those speaking out to protest these designs.
People, not costumes! People, not costumes!
Signs and petition in hand.
I have here a change.org petition with almost 23,000 signatures asking Yandy to retire their Native American costume line.
Would you please leave our premises? A group is advocating for this Phoenix-based online retailer to stop the sale of costumes they say exploits their culture.
These small things are not small.
Everything has meaning, even like colors and types of materials used.
Cher Thomas is in the business of making traditional Native clothing. And everything, from patterns to symbols, has meaning.
So when you go to make this clothing, you have to be very cognizant of those things.
So when Thomas sees companies like Yandy put out costumes resembling Native clothing, she describes it as disrespectful and believes it can perpetuate violence against Indigenous women.
You know, Native clothing is about sanctifying the individual. When companies like this use our traditional dressmaking and manipulates it, it feels dehumanizing.
So this is us speaking out as Native people.
Yandy has been in the spotlight before. In September, the company pulled a sexy costume resembling that of concubines in the Hulu series The Handmaid's Tale after social media outcry.
Handmaid's Tale is able to get more support from this company than actual people.
Yandy says on their website these sexy Native American costumes pay homage to the beauty of the tradition.
That it's not okay for you to costume us.
But protesters think otherwise. In Phoenix, Sammy Giebers, Cronkite News.
Yandy did not respond to requests for comment on the petition or the protest, but they did tell activists they appreciated their sentiments and understand that they have a right to express their opinions.
Phoenix restaurants rooted in history rely on loyal customers and an appreciation for the past. That's a fact highlighted after a downtown staple closed its doors after 9 decades. Reporter Charisma Sandoval shows how longtime businesses leave a lasting impact.
Longtime Phoenix restaurants often mean much more than a place to eat. One customer mourned the closing of a restaurant she and her husband often visited.
It was our favorite place when we first got married. We've been coming here since 1971, and it was our weekend thing to do. And, you know, he has since passed, so it holds a lot of memories.
Sing Hai Chop Suey House closed its doors in downtown Phoenix after 90 years. Jonathan Larkin, a frequent customer, said he waited more than an hour to have one last meal there.
For me, as a former legislator, I received one of my first endorsements here, and I just want to come back, say goodbye.
Michelle Dodds, Historic Preservation Officer for Phoenix, says the city values the historic touch restaurants like these bring to the community.
There's a real appreciation, more so now than ever, for a property that offers something unique, something that has a history, something that's just not some cookie cutter thing you could see anywhere in the U.S.
Some restaurants preserve history in a different way with a historic building. A pharmacy that opened in 1929 has been turned into a diner where customers can sip drinks from a soda fountain.
We decided we wanted to buy McAlpine's because we didn't want to see it close. The previous owner was going to auction everything on eBay, and we just felt it was such a piece of American and Arizona history. It was really special.
But restaurants still may fall to the bulldozer.
I think it's just the way the city's progressing, and you know, new businesses coming in, and you know, the tall buildings and hotels and all the venues that are going on around here. So I think it's just, you know, changing with times.
In Phoenix, Charisma Sandoval, Cronkite News.
Other longtime restaurants that have closed their doors recently include Tom's Tavern in downtown Phoenix after 87 years. But others, like homegrown Carolina's Mexican food, founded in 1968, are still turning on the burners.
A local businesswoman is teaching people with Down syndrome how to cook vegetarian fare for a more sustainable community. Cronkite News reporter Samantha Lomi-Bao explains how these skills will help them sizzle both at home and on the job.
All right, are you guys ready?
Chris Mill operates a food truck with a cause. Mill says she is inspired to teach people with Down syndrome how to cook at home or as a job.
My nephew, 12 years ago, was born with Down syndrome, and him and I have been cooking, and he's been staying overnights with me, and we've been working on cutting vegetables and learning the values of fresh vegetables, and he fell in love with it. And so through his passion of loving to cook and what he likes to do and what I like to do, it was a perfect match.
According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, 18% of people with disabilities were employed in 2017 compared to 65% of the abled population. Tucson resident Joseph Franklin says he was naturally drawn to the cooking class.
I like this to eat.
Mill says there are misconceptions that people with disabilities can only do limited work.
We had 4 children here cooking veggie fried rice on their own, and just to see that they can do that and they can create so much knowledge and help in society as they grow older just makes my heart so warm.
Mill calls it empowerment through employment and urges other business owners to follow the practice. In Phoenix, Samantha Lomi-Bao for Cronkite News.
Mill plans on having a hiring event next month. Her goal is to have at least one employee with Down syndrome working during every food truck event.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.